Welcome to another episode of Just Because Live. I'm Chris Nicolaysen, and today I am honored to be joined by Andrew Graff of Luisa Graff Jewelers. Hello, Andrew. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Very excited to have you on and have this chat with you. Can't wait for people to find out more about your story.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's talk. What I like to do generally is ask people, how did you get here to where you are exactly today? So can you kind of take us way back to the beginning and tell us how you get here?
So a wonderful day on November 1st, 1984, I was born.
Okay.
By Luisa Graff, who's my mom.
Okay.
And it does actually really all start with her. My mom is an incredible woman. She is a child of war from South America, Peru. So my mom is an immigrant from South America, Peru. And when she escaped the dictator and she escaped the country of Peru, the only thing that she took with her was some jewelry in her pockets. Hence Luisa Graff Jewelers. That's, jewelry has always been something that's in our family because my grandfather, or my mom's father, was a chemical metallurgist engineer, and he did own some gold mines down in Peru before the government took it over. Long story short, she had to escape that. She does actually have on YouTube, she spoke at the Air Force Academy. So if you want to see that 45-minute explanation of her life, you're more than welcome. Go to YouTube and find that one from the Air Force Academy, because they did invite her to talk about it.
Nice.
So I've always had a passion for my country, because this is the greatest country in the history. In my opinion, this is a wonderful country. I love it. And I wanted to do everything that I possibly could for it. I'm born and raised in Colorado Springs. I went to Wolford Elementary, and then Challenger Middle School, and then Pine Creek High School.
Nice.
That was my path. But during high school, as we all do, I made some mistakes, and, you go into a weird phase, right, as adolescent. And I needed to figure out what to do with my life. So instead of joining my mom at that moment or anything, I wanted to branch out on my own, and I couldn't choose Army or Air Force because I would have just been right here in Colorado Springs. So
Fair.
I chose the Navy to see the world.
Right.
And I also wanted to be a Navy SEAL. That was one of the passions of mine. I didn't make it. I was part of the 90% that, you don't make it.
Right.
But I did do search and rescue, and I was vertical board search and seizure for a while until I broke my arm, dislocated my elbow, my feet got really messed up and everything. So they put me back into the engine room, which is what I actually joined the Navy as an engineman. And I made the rank of engineman, second class petty officer of the United States Navy. And then I did my time. I did 6 years active, and then when I went into reserves for another 2 years, I did my reserves in Ohio.
Okay.
And when I was in Ohio, it was more reserves for recruiting duty, but I also had time to pick up another job, so I went to GNC. In the Navy, when I was doing all of my training, I did end up becoming the command fitness leader for the USS Decatur. And as command fitness leader, I developed all the training programs to make sure that everybody could pass their physical readiness test, and if they were out of regulations or anything like that, then we would develop a nice program to try to get them motivated, so to speak, to pass their readiness test.
Okay.
So then I went to GNC, and at GNC, I started as a sales associate, very quickly moved to manager, and very quickly they gave me my own store in Fremont, Ohio.
Yeah. Let's stop there for a minute, because you've hit on things I want to chat about. So I'll kind of go backwards here. So Fremont, Ohio, like I was telling you off air, is that I lived and grew up in a small town called Elmore, Ohio, which is literally right next to Fremont. So this is one of those weird, like, the world is actually very small.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, coincidences. And
small world. That's so cool.
Yeah. And so then we were talking too earlier about, like, generally when people go into retail, and I worked retail for a long time before becoming an attorney, you go to places that you generally shop at or want to work at.
Yes.
And so for yourself with GNC, there was obviously a fitness piece component with you, and even prior with that from the Navy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the command fitness leader, right?
Yep.
And then, so can you kind of explain because I do a little bit of CrossFit now and then go to the gym. Like, what are the components? So just if a layperson wants to go out and kind of do this, what kind of things were you coming up with?
As far as the command fitness leader?
Yeah.
So in the Navy, we have 8 counts.
Okay.
Are you familiar with 8 counts? It's almost like the WOD or the workout of the day,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 8 counts is jumping jacks down to prone, down to push up, back up into jumping jacks. So you do 8 counts, and then you just establish everything else that you have to do to get them. Everybody, it's a lot like ring sizes. Ring sizing is not an exact science because everybody's bodies fluctuate too much for your ring size to be constant for your entire life, right? That's why if your ring doesn't fit, come in because you probably need to get it sized. Everybody's body style is completely different and needs a little bit of a different nutritional supplementation, vitamin supplementation. Probiotics are huge. And then a workout routine that is good for your body. You do CrossFit. I couldn't because my joints couldn't handle it.
Right.
So my bionic elbow from the Navy probably needs to get out.
Yes. Okay, so then you go from, and we'll touch on kind of Luisa Graff Jewelers here in just a minute.
Okay.
But so you go now and you're working at GNC and you move up pretty quickly. So talk about some of the things that it taught you working there, some of the things you learned.
Well, the most important thing that I learned is product knowledge is essential. You have to know what you're talking about in any industry. If you don't know what you're talking about in any industry, your customers will very quickly identify that you don't know what you're talking about. Yep. So product knowledge was probably the most important thing at GNC. And I literally got a book of all of the supplements and everything that you could possibly think of, A to Z. And I read that book once a year. Oh, wow. Because I wanted to know everything about everything that I could. Yeah. So I could pick and choose supplements individually in order to get somebody a program without having to go to, you just need protein and probiotics and all this other stuff. I would ask, the second thing that I learned that's very important is open-ended questions.
Nice.
So if you know your product and you ask the right questions, you should be able to, in theory, identify what the needs are. It's a needs assessment, and then you display the answer. Here's what I heard you say. These are all of the things that I think might help you.
Right.
So GNC is actually a very good training program. They had the GNC University online that helped you sell some of their specific products.
Oh, gotcha.
I liked to go to their pharmaceutical grade individual items and make you a program.
Oh, nice.
But they did come out with like their own mix of stuff. But a lot of times it had additional stuff in there that people didn't really need.
Yep.
That was just they always tried to get me to push their product too, right? They're like,
totally.
But I didn't feel like that was ethical because it wasn't everything that everybody needed. And I did train my team on that. When they gave me my own store, I developed a training program of product knowledge and open-ended questions and make sure that you treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter if they're here for a $5 item or a $500 item. You treat them all the same. And I brought that to Luisa Graff Jewelers too. It doesn't matter if you're here for a $19 sterling silver necklace or a $70,000 4-carat diamond.
Right.
We are customer service oriented, and we will always be that way. Awesome.
So you guys ended up, so obviously in retail you're always constantly looking at the numbers, and you're looking at this year versus last year, trying to see how are we doing. And then generally, most people, if they don't know, you have your own individual store, and then you have a district of a group of different stores, and then a region. Yes. So how did you fare, kind of in comparison to other stores, and how did your store do under your tutelage?
So when I became manager, I ranked #1 in the region for the key performance indicators, like every week, basically. So they gave me my own store, and within 5 to 10 months, I actually brought that store to #5 in the entire company.
Oh, wow.
The #1, just to give you an example of it, the #1 GNC was on 5th Avenue in New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is nuts, because if people don't know Fremont, like it is, Castle Rock, I think, is even bigger than Fremont at this point. So it's it's not that big.
It's not. So you got people from Toledo and Cleveland, even some from Cincinnati, just to work with the team that we had. I mean, it was a lot of fun. But I also realized that, hey, maybe I could do retail.
Right.
So gave my mom a phone. Actually, you know what? Here's a funny story for you.
Yeah.
I didn't let my mom know that I was applying at her store. I actually called the HR manager that we have, Jan, and I said, Jan, I'd like to submit my application, but I'd like you not to tell Luisa.
Oh my gosh.
And her first response was, who's this? Yeah, this is Andrew Graff, sorry.
So then I've got to ask, how far did that carry through? Did you end up passing, like, getting through the first phase of the interview process?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Yes, I did. She didn't tell my mom, and I came and I met with Jan, and they hired me, and then they told my mom.
Oh my gosh.
So I started, and I wanted to do that on purpose because my mom started in this industry when she was about 15 years old. Back then, that was okay. So, and she was just wiping counters and cleaning everything else. And she always told me, no matter where you start at the bottom. Because then you know every position that you can, and you know how to manage it if you know how to do it. So I did. I started at the bottom here in 2014. I think it was February 4th, 2014. I finally came back from the military because I left in 2005.
Yeah.
Joined my mom's team, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since.
Okay. So then you also had, so through this time, you told me too that you're married and you have 2 kiddos.
Yeah.
So I always want 2 people that are married with kiddos to be able to give their spouse and their family shout outs. So go ahead and do that real quick.
I love my wife. She is my superhero because she gave birth to my first son, who was 9 pounds, 9 ounces. My second son was 10 pounds, 13 ounces. Wow. And they were both home births.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we got a midwife and a doula, and my wife had him. She is just incredible. I love her.
Oh, that's awesome. And so then for yourself, like we were talking too, like, you joined GNC and you've got this fitness routine going on, and then you get married. And so how has married life kind of changed that for you?
So I think a fun story is how I met my wife, which is really fun. So I was one of those Navy guys, and even in high school, I didn't think that I'd get married or have kids, right? But God has a different plan, and God's plan took hold here. So my wife's parents came into my mom's store for their 30th year anniversary, and they were looking for a gift. And my mom came down and started working with them, and they hit it off so well that my mom jokingly said, you don't have a daughter too, because I'm trying to sell my son. And I was walking by as she said that, and I get red. I just get red. Like, I'm like, Mom, what are you doing here?
Oh my
God. And I didn't even know this, but before my wife's parents came in for their 30th anniversary, I actually worked with my wife because she bought a Tanzanite and she brought it into my store. And I did a whole lot of gemological tests in front of her, and I worked with her for a little bit. So she and I actually had an interaction before her parents did.
Okay.
And then her parents went home and joked about it. And my wife stood up and said, wait, Andrew's single?
Oh, nice. So
she came into the store, and we got to talking, and I got her phone number, and I took her out on a date. We started at Starbucks. And we went up to Cave of the Winds, and we spent the day at Cave of the Winds, and then we ended at Bonefish Grill, and we have been inseparable ever since July 11th, 2016.
Oh, that is awesome. And I've been married. I'll hit 25 years this year. I feel like I can't say about my wife. And like I was saying, we've got 2 kids ourselves, and so it's one of those things. I want to ask you too, though, being a fairly new dad.
Yeah.
Kind of going through life, right? Finding that retail fits you, and I did that as well. And then how did having your first child change you?
So my wife had a home birth. And the second I held my son, my heart grew 10 sizes that day. You really don't know love until the love of your child.
Yeah.
I think that's biblical too. But I feel like the Grinch. Like, did I even love before I had kids? Like,
yeah,
incredible. And my wife would beg to differ because obviously I loved her before we had kids, and I got to her and all of the above. But so the first 8 weeks of my firstborn's life, I didn't go to the gym, and I had been a very avid gym goer and supplements and protein. Make sure I'm drinking plenty of water, eat every 2 hours, all this other stuff. That goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
You have a kid, that's gone, right?
Yep.
But I did realize the effect of working out on my mental state. So my wife and I had a long conversation about it. Said, I got to get back in the gym. It's like a Zen place for me. I get to go there and just relieve some stress. I have too much energy. I'm a ball of energy. I got to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
So we came up with a good routine. So every morning I do get to go to the gym now for an hour.
Nice. Oh, that's great. Good. And so for me, I remember too, like, and it's been a long time, but whenever I had my daughter, and I agree with you, that first time you get to hold your kiddo,
I know
it's life-changing. But it's like one of those like things where like the entire like universe just flashes before your eyes and you're like, holy cow, I've got an adult now. It's not just me or my wife. We've got to actually do stuff where there's people actually counting on us. And it's just this crazy thing of just thoughts and everything else going through it. And so I'm super excited for you guys because
you got to pull out the book and look up adulting.
Yes, exactly.
What is this? I got like 4 books of being a father now,
right.
And like one specific guy, how to be a father to a son.
Right, exactly. And like you mentioned, the ball of energy. So I used to be a school teacher.
Yeah.
I described, and I taught elementary. So like around 3rd grade, which was my favorite grade to teach, the girls they're pleasers. They're just nice, and they sit and they just wait for the instruction, and then they go.
Yeah.
Boys, exactly what you just described.
Yeah.
I'm a ball of energy. They're like a bouncy ball in a small little box, and it is like shake that thing up, and here they go. And it's such a different feel. But then whenever they get into junior high and high school, there's a switch. It's just such a different.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Right. There we go. Okay, so let's get in and talk about Luisa Graff then.
Okay.
I've been here since 2005. We moved here from Las Vegas. And the one constant that I've heard on the radio, TV, things like that, is Luisa Graff. And so talk to me, and I knew you weren't there at the very beginning, but talk to me about kind of, the beginnings of Luisa Graff Jewelers, because it's hard starting a business, and it's, you know what I mean? And so kind of talk about that for us for a little bit.
So my mom went on her own in 1999. And my mom at the time didn't have a whole lot of inventory, and she tried to get inventory to put in. A lot of the saying goes that you invest in the business with the earnings of the business, right? So you take the earnings and you invest whatever you can back into the business. And my mom did that very, very well. I think one of the keys to my mom's success is that she is a hoarder. So my mom has hoarded so many gemstones and so many rings and so much jewelry. We just got to the deposit behind the buildings.
Oh, wow.
Like she really is a saver.
Okay.
And if you know her life, it makes sense why she would be that, because she lost everything at the age of 12.
Yep.
Right. So obviously she's going to try to hold on to stuff. I mean, there's a psychological reason for all this, but she has been an incredible hoarder of jewelry. And that's why we have an 8,000 square foot store and a 12,000 item inventory right now, is because of her diligence and tenacity when it came to just making sure the inventory was right and you had everything you needed and investing back in the business. Mm-hmm. Once she realized that investing in the business worked, she then started to invest in the people in the business.
Nice.
So when you invest in your, I want to say team members, but we'll use employees just so everybody's got the right vocabulary. When you invest in your team members, then they have an investment and an ownership quality in what you've invested in them. And then you just become a family, and it's mutually beneficial to everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to know then too, and I want you to talk to everybody about how, as store manager, you keep your team members up and going each day. Cause it's hard some days to get up and go to work. We just go, man, I want to be able to, I'm enjoying my weekend or what have you. And then with retail too, the hours can be a little different than that 9 to 5 banker job or lawyer job, where things can be a little different than that. So how do you keep your team up and going? What kind of things do you use?
For retail hours, I always go back to the fact that, hey, it's not 12 on, 12 off like it was in the military.
True.
At least you're not working 12 hours. 12 on, 12 off. That's a different ballgame altogether.
Right.
So we do pretty well with that. But as far as growth goes, I joined my mom in 2014, and then I became, I started at the bottom as just a sales associate, and I worked my way up to assistant manager and then the sales manager, and now I'm store manager. And I actually did just purchase some of the store from my mom, so we're partners.
Well,
So, and I am part owner now, and it's very beneficial because we can say we're veteran owned and operated too. And I got that little cool Google medallion for being a veteran business. But with the team that we have right now is the biggest team that my mom has ever had.
Okay.
We have 28 team members right now.
Okay.
And every single day we do have a morning meeting. We have a morning huddle. And that's just to get everybody refocused on what their objective for the day is. And then after the morning huddle, you separate, you start going about their ways. And my favorite thing to do is role play. Okay. So I develop all sorts of role plays with every single scenario that could possibly happen. I go to the team and I say, okay, here's the scenario. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And they appreciate that a lot, because I can't tell you how many times somebody's come to me at the end of the day and be like, hey, guess what just happened? The exact role play that you had, like, and it worked, you know. Yeah. We still make the sole focus about the customers. And we've done a lot of the Disney University training, so we don't even call them customers, we call them guests.
Okay. Yep.
So be our guest, you know, like the song. Yeah. So when it comes to the team members that we have, it's very important for positive mental attitude that we hold every Friday morning. We have an hour-long meeting that either has to do with product knowledge, customer service, repair, or operational alignment, right? Nice. And I have a completely open door policy. This is actually the first time my door's been closed. I have a note that I'm in this.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? I normally have my door wide open.
Right.
Anybody can come in at any time and tell me what's going on so that we can try to figure it out.
Gotcha.
So we try to make sure that everybody feels like family, especially everybody that comes in under this roof.
That's great. And that's a great thing too, that open door policy, because
yeah.
The only way that, you know, and I'm in a partnership at my law firm, the only way that we can get better is by by our team coming to us.
Yeah.
Talking to us. And we don't have all the ideas. And we're not in the trenches the way we used to be. So with them coming to us going, you know, maybe we could tweak this or try this thing differently, I think it can be really, really helpful.
Oh yeah. That we got a lot of the ideas, and that's, I don't attribute our success just to me and my mom.
Right.
I like to tell my mom too, like, hey, this store is a lot bigger than just me and my mom. If something were to happen to us, it would continue on, because our team right now is the most knowledgeable, the most well-trained team that, again, Luisa Graff Jewelers has ever had. And they are just incredible. Just like you said, they bring me information, and we try to gear our training or our role playing based on whatever information that they bring to us. And they are in the trenches, so to speak. So it's very important to listen to them.
Yeah. And then, so speaking of their knowledge, I want you to talk about, I'm going to use this as a quote, some nerdy stuff.
Oh, I love that.
So talk to me, and I think you know where I'm going. Talk to me about gemology and metallurgy, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So in my opinion, gemology is the missing link, or the connection between geology and astronomy. So yes, we are a big planet of rock and minerals and all this other stuff. But meteorites and asteroids, before they become meteorites, do bring gemstones like peridot and moissanite to Earth. So we have gemstones that do come from Earth, from being Earth mined, and then we have gemstones that are from outer space. And knowing the difference in the silicon base of some of these gemstones versus the minerals and the trace elements that are in diamond, so to speak, is something that's just super cool. And the Gemological Institute of America has a lot of that training. There's the American Gem Society that has a lot of that training. But I've also found that getting into geology has helped me understand how the crystals are formed in geodes in Earth more than the gemological training has. And yes, I'm a big nerd, and I'm proud of it, because this is just the training for gemology will never stop. They find new gemstones, and they find new pockets or veins of crystals to identify as gemstones all the time. Whether they're as valuable as diamond or ruby or alexandrite is debatable. Depends on how much there is, and their hardness and their crystal growth structure, and how much they reflect light, right? Because you need to sparkle. You need those sparkles.
Yeah.
You know, that's why diamonds are girls' best friend, because they sparkle.
There's a lot. So talk real quick too before we move on to metallurgy. I want you to. Do you have personally for you? Do you have a favorite gem?
Yeah, alexandrite is one of my favorite gemstones because it is a tricloic gemstone. It has different colors and different lights.
Oh, nice.
And it is one of the most rare gemstones out there.
Yeah.
If I wanted to pick a second, it would be ruby, and that is because it is a biblical gemstone, and they do reference how women is as beautiful as a fine ruby,
right.
Biblically, you know. Yeah. And then if I picked a third, it'd be diamond, because diamond is just, it is the hardest mineral known to man. That is earth made, not a man-made mineral, right?
Yeah.
So, and it is very dispersive, and they use it for so many different things.
Right. Right. Interesting. Okay. So now let's talk about metallurgy.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Well, metallurgy is the second aspect. So if you remember, I was talking about GNC and how the first thing I learned was product knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to know what you're talking about. The gemstones is a given. You go to a jeweler and they should know about gemstones. Yeah. The thing that you don't expect a jeweler to know is metallurgy. But they should, because every single ring or bracelet or necklace that you have is marked with what content of gold it has in it. So you could have 14 karat gold, 18 karat gold, 22 karat gold. What people don't disclose is what alloys are mixed in with those gold rings or bracelets or anything. Depending on the alloys that they use, it could be a well-made item or not very well made, because they used a very like they just use mostly nickel instead of using nickel, zinc, and palladium to make it more strong or more durable or something like that. Gotcha. So the rings that we have in our store, we had to make sure were the right metallurgy for sustainability, because the worst thing that could happen is something that is purchased from Luisa Graff jewelers, goes out in the world and breaks almost immediately. Right. And if we don't end up replacing it, you'll get a bad review, and word of mouth is huge. That's why you treat everybody the way that you want to be treated. That's the golden rule. Yes. You know, so word of mouth is huge. Knowing what your items in your jewelry store are made out of, not every jeweler knows, but I took it upon myself to dive deep into metallurgy so that I could at least train my people on how a ring is supposed to be made. Okay.
And then you had mentioned when we were off air about, I think it was sterling silver. Is that
right?
Yeah.
Can
you talk about that for a minute?
Well, and the example that I used was a 14 karat white gold ring versus a sterling silver ring. If you have a softer gemstone, let's say opal, and you're trying to set an opal in a 14 karat white gold ring, you're actually going to have a little bit better turnout, because the 14 karat white gold ring will be easier to work with. It's a little bit more malleable. Whereas sterling silver, you're going to end up either pushing too hard or not hard enough. And if it's not hard enough, the opal is going to be loose and it'll end up breaking. You push too hard and it'll break the opal.
Interesting.
So sterling silver is a really difficult metal to work with when it comes to setting precious gemstones. It's easier to work with if you're just manufacturing and making a whole lot of things, and it's a lot less expensive.
So for mass production, sterling silver works.
Mass production with no gemstones.
Gotcha.
If you're just making a ton of men's rings, then they all should be $9.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, so then I want to know too, and then so I think I saw, it was recently, I saw one of your commercials. Very good commercial. You had mentioned that you guys take, I think in the commercial that you guys take, what was it, buybacks, or you guys take, or taking other, can you talk about some of your services that you guys have?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are one of the only jewelers in Colorado that is a full service. We can do everything from repairing, manufacturing, custom creating, appraisals, pearl restringing. I mean, we are a one-stop shop when it comes to a jewelry store, and that's one of the things that I advocate for, because I believe in being able to help anybody who comes in here for anything. The only things that we really don't work on yet are watches, but I normally have a reference or somebody that I refer them to for those. So when anybody comes in here, it is our goal to ensure that we give them the best possible customer service that they can, and that we can do whatever we can. One of the things that we've recently started is the gold buys. So we have a whole estate section that, again, my mom has hoarded. all this estate jewelry.
Oh, yes.
Over the years. And it used to just come to us organically. People would come in and be like, hey, would you buy this from me? and we would work with them as trades. So,
Yeah.
well, you know, we don't typically buy gold from the public, but why don't you trade this for this?
Right.
And normally it worked out, but now we are offering cash for anybody who has gold in their wardrobe that they're not using. Bring it in. We actually had a commercial that we labeled "Funky to Flashy."
Okay.
You can take your funky jewelry, bring it in. We'll try to make it flashy.
Nice.
You know.
Nice. Oh, that's great.
That's with our custom modification department. We just renovated our repair shop.
Okay.
So we have a jewelry repair shop foreman who is an actual master jeweler.
Oh, nice.
So he is a master bench jeweler. In order to be classified as a master jeweler, you've had to have trained at least 15 apprentices.
Oh, wow.
He's trained like 30.
Yeah.
So he is incredible, and he now has 5 other jewelers. So we have 6 total in-house. Nobody else in Colorado Springs that's a family-owned jeweler can say that.
Right.
We have 6 jewelers in-house that can all custom modify or make your funky to flashy jewelry, and it's a lot of fun, and I think that is a huge opportunity for both Colorado Springs and us, because I want to be here to help you wear your jewelry again. Get it out of that jewelry case and put it back on. Let's make it nice.
Yes, absolutely. Because definitely too, fashions change through the years, and obviously jewelry will change too. I mean, it's just something that happens. I mean, things that were, and maybe everything comes back around at some point.
Yeah.
You're going to have a 20 to 30 year gap that you're waiting to rewear that piece of jewelry again before it's in fashion again.
And yellow gold is coming back. It was white gold for a while.
Yes.
Now even the guys are coming in asking for a yellow gold ring. And we do follow the fashion trends. Like if you look at purses and jackets that people are buying now, a lot of them have either yellow zippers or white metal zippers. Okay. So if those are the 2 fashion things, yellow zippers for purses and buttons and all that other stuff is coming back.
Interesting.
So the yellow gold is going to be making a comeback here soon.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's good to know. Okay, so Andrew, I want to respect your time. We're at about 32 minutes, so I'm going to wrap up here. And so I asked 2 questions at the very end. So the first of the 2 is, what is your favorite place in Colorado?
Cave of the Winds.
Cave of the Winds. And is it?
That's the first date I took my wife to.
I'm going to guess you're a big romantic at heart, or especially, you know, being a partner at a jewelry store, you better be.
Yeah, unbeknownst to me, I had no idea until I came back to the jewelry industry, and then I was like, yeah, I guess I am.
There we go.
With some of that. And the thing that I say, like, it's easy to say that I sell jewelry. But I'd rather say I help engineer love through ancient items with ancient traditions. The ancient items being diamonds and jewelry, and the ancient traditions being proposals and marriage.
Nice.
And it's just, so I guess I am just a romantic.
Wow. Okay. And then the second question is, if you were not doing this, I know you kind of fell into retail through your GNC path, and ended up doing the blind application to your mom's place, and have moved up the ranks. But what would your dream job be?
Motivational speaker.
Interesting. Do you have a favorite motivational speaker?
No, I don't. Okay. I like them all, and I've picked pieces from every single one of them.
Nice.
But every time I look at a motivational speaker, it's hard for me to not be a critic.
Yep.
Well, I would have done it a little, until you get up there. And by no means do I want to do that, like right now.
Right.
I'm not well-versed or practiced in it.
Right.
But I do, again, with the training program here at Luisa Graff Jewelers, I've probably made hundreds of PowerPoints that all have to do with either emotional intelligence, product knowledge, again, self-awareness, or positive mental attitude training. So I picked that up in college, I guess.
That's great. Oh, that's so great. Good. Because I'm actually a motivational junkie.
Good.
Most of the stuff I listen to at the gym is on that stuff, and the speakers we'll talk about another time. But all right.
Yeah, we'll have to get together, Christopher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast, man.
It's fun. So let everybody know out there, and I'm going to put a ticker down at the bottom too, how people can find you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy. You could call the store. There's a few different numbers. I know Google pulls a different number, but it's 719-260-0100 is the store number. There's also LuisaGraffJewelers.com. You could email me direct at andrew@luisagraffjewelers.com. And I get emails every day that I love to respond to and try to help somebody out, whether or not it's a old heirloom item and you're trying to sell it yourself. I've helped people do that. I have Navy buddies that still bring gemstones from Afghanistan and Kuwait and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And I either let them know, no, you got screwed, or hey, that was a good purchase.
Yes. Kind of like that baseball card thing too. Whenever you think you found that one, like Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card,
right?
And then you're like, wait, it was actually after his first year. It was a second year card, and you're like,
dang it.
Yeah. All right, Andrew.
Or you could just come into Luisa Graff Jewelers. I'm here a lot.
Perfect. Good. Absolutely. We'll be doing that. And we appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there, we will talk to you all next time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye now.